Is it the Jets or is it the Giants? And I'll start with you, Christian.
Well, listen, the Giants are still in it. I mean, we can't call it a total disappointment yet. They need some help to get into the playoffs, but they're still 8-7, and they still have a chance to make a run if they could do what they did last year. But in the end, it's the Jets, and it's not even close. The way this thing was handled, the way the players reacted, what was said in the media, the constant scrutiny, the quarterback situation, the defense. I mean, even on just a straight football approach, okay, just injuries. I mean, they weren't able to get anything out of the guys that they had, and then the guys got hurt, and they weren't able to, I guess, scheme their way to victories because of the players that they had. So, and that starts at the top by having the right players and signing too many high-priced players 4 years ago and not having any depth to recover if you did have injuries. So the Giants, listen, they're still in it. They're still relevant. They're not giving me that warm and fuzzy feeling like I had last year because they're losing, important games at the end of the season when you should be winning them. But in the end, it's the Jets, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I'm with the Jets, too. Look, I get tired of being sold a bill of goods. That's no good. I mean, like you said, the Wildcat. The defense is going to be outstanding this year. The defense is going to be the catalyst for this team. Just all the things that they sell to you, not just this year, last year too. It's every year a coach comes out. He's boastful. He's saying that they're going to do this, they're going to do that. They've changed. They got this team that's going to get over the hump and finally get into a Super Bowl, and it never pans out. It implodes on those guys. You got bickering in the locker room, like you said. Coaches don't really know what they're doing. They don't know how to play their players. Personnel is bad. It's just so much. You look at Tannenbaum. You don't know if he's making the moves. You don't know if Woody Johnson is making the move. It's just a big mess, and it's been going on. And the worst thing about it, they're in New York, so they get all this press coverage. Remember training camp? We were set up out there for a week, just watching them doing training camp. Nothing materialized. I'm tired of being sold this big bill of goods and being let down.
See, I disagree because I think it's the Giants, because what bill of goods necessarily were you sold about this Jets team? They were 8-8 last year, and nobody expected this to be the sort of the Barnum and Bailey type meltdown that they've had.
Well, Rex Ryan was saying it.
Yeah.
Well, Rex Ryan always says that.
Well, that's what he's talking about.
Okay, but I mean, if you're looking at it from an objective opinion, did you really think the Jets were Super Bowl contenders this year? And after Darrelle Revis goes down, and after Santonio Holmes go down, you have to ratchet down the expectation for this team. Now, no question, it's turned into an absolute farce out there in New York, but with the Jets. But the Giants, they're coming off the Super Bowl win. This was a team that was expected to bounce back. Most of their players came back. That vaunted defensive line comes back. This team is listless. They look rudderless out there. Look at some of the numbers. 29th in the NFL in giving up plays 20 yards or more. 31st in the NFL in plays 40 yards or more. They're giving up big plays left and right. In the month of December, when games really start to count, Eli Manning, this elite quarterback, is 17th in the NFL in passer rating. We had enormous expectations for this Giants team, and they have acted like they don't even care. They do. They behave that way. We talked yesterday about how they're talking to the media about next year. Osen Umenyiora saying he might not be back with the Giants next year. Eli Manning sort of foreshadowing next year. They're still mathematically in the playoff chase, and they're talking about next year. To me, the Giants are a much bigger disappointment just because we expected them to be good. We didn't expect the Jets to be Super Bowl
But what about
contenders.
some of the changes that they made? You said most of that team came back. You lost some big guys. Mario Moynihan.
Sure.
I think he was directly the reason why Victor Cruz didn't have the year he had. Even though he got in the Pro Bowl, it still wasn't the Victor Cruz that we were used to seeing. They lost Brandon Jacobs. Ahmad Bradshaw had a lot of injuries this year. Brandon Jacobs could have been the second string back that came in and took some of those. Gary Brown, the Brown guy, he did pretty good. But you lost some big personalities, and you have to look at what you lose out the locker room. It's the chemistry. It's not just all about what happens on the field. It's what you lose in the locker room with the leaders in there. And I really think Coach Coughlin, he has so much on his plate. You need those guys in the locker room to kind of manage things for you, because I think out of all the locker rooms, I think an NFL locker room is the most polices themselves.
Yeah.
We try to police ourselves in the NFL locker room.
Best locker room you've ever been in, Lomas?
Best locker room I ever been in probably was the Giants when I was there. Great locker room. A lot of veterans.
Not
a lot of veterans.
You mentioned
Tampa was good, but I look at some of the personalities in New York, Jesse Armstead.
So how'd that translate for you guys?
Well, we lost the Super Bowl. We got there, but we lost the Super Bowl, and I did win it with Tampa.
Okay.
So.
You mentioned a lot of the players that are gone. You mentioned a lot of offensive players. Explain to me why this team is dead last in sacks with the defensive line they have. Explain to me why this team is 30th in the NFL in team defense with the playmakers they have on the defensive side of the ball. To me, it just comes down to effort. I think this team just coasted after the Super Bowl. I thought they could get back into the playoffs and duplicate what they've done, what they did last year, and they couldn't do it. And to me, that makes them an enormous disappointment.
Yeah, well, as long as they're still in it, they're not a disappointment. As long as they're still mathematically in the race and in the hunt.
Like the sun has to rise in the west for that to happen.
They're still in it. So, next week, today's Friday, so it's 3 games, 3 teams have to lose. But in the end, you have to assume that these guys will win this next game. And granted, people, some losses happen and they get a little help. They can do a little bit business, make a little noise in the playoffs, But again, it's just one of those things where the Jets have been so bad. Yeah. Nobody gets more attention than the Jets. Some warrant it, some not warrant it. And the way they handle it's like just mishandling a botched snap. It's like it just looks horrible. And the more you see it, the more you're convinced it was a bad situation. So listen. The story of the year will be the Jets from beginning to end. And the Giants, although they didn't live up to their expectations, nobody has said more out of their locker room about what they're going to do and then let us down more than the Jets have.
Well, you know what? To your point, it's not that far-fetched. Let's see. So the Packers have to beat the Vikings, the Lions have to beat the Bears, the Redskins have to beat the Cowboys, and the Giants have to win. Is that really that far-fetched?
A little bit, because that's 3 teams they're counting on 3 other teams to go the other way, and they have to beat the Eagles, which I think is going to be difficult for them. The way they've played the last few weeks, I firmly expect Michael Vick to have a big game. Maybe I'm just pipe dreaming there, but I think Michael Vick with potentially a job opportunity on the line next year, with a lot of people watching Michael Vick to see how he performs in this situation, I think he has a big game right there. But this Giants team, just the listlessness of it, the indifference it seems like they've had towards the regular season, and the expectations, I say again, that we had for them. Did you guys believe the Jets were going to be Super Bowl contenders? You said the Jets are the story this year. I completely agree. They're the story. But does that make them a bigger disappointment? I don't see
Maybe
it.
because of what has happened and how it happened.
Yes.
That's why it's probably a bigger disappointment.
Oh, there should be a laugh track to the way they played this
year.
year.
I know, but it's a soap opera, so you're like, really? No, really? No, really? And then,
it got worse and it got worse. And they had a chance to kind of fix it. And then prove us wrong. Just listen, eat a little crow. We made a mistake, and just admit to their mistakes. So they just never wanted to do it.
All right, I'm sorry. What do you want to say, Lomas?
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
All right. You see, I favor Lomas.
Clearly.
You see how nice I am to him.
He's been in the good seat over.
He's always in the good seat.